There was some pretty big Red Sox news over the weekend that could have some huge implication as to what the bullpen looks like over the next couple of months. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and so far this year, like we mentioned in the last video, this Red Sox bullpen's been pretty solid, especially on the back end of it, right? Obviously, there have been a couple of games this year where they've sort of fallen off, but for the most part, the bullpen, especially the back end, the 7th, 8th, 9th inning, has been pretty reliable. Well, this weekend, we got some injury news regarding a couple of players in this Red Sox bullpen that have been key to this bullpen success. There have also been news about players coming back onto this Red Sox team that's going to have implications in the bullpen as well. So what we're going to do in today's video is we're going to break down the latest Red Sox injury news. We're going to talk about who's injured, what happened. We're going to talk about how long they are out and what the Red Sox are going to do to replace them. And we're going to talk about some guys who are coming back into this Red Sox team that are going to have implications on this bullpen. And obviously, we're going to talk about how all of this could affect the 2023 Boston Red Sox. But before we get into that, do me a favor. If you're new here, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps it out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with talking about the latest Red Sox injury news, and we're going to start with something that I just feel terrible talking about, and that is that Zack Kelly has been moved to the 60-day IL. Now, for those of you who do not know, Zack Kelly was injured in the 5th inning of the April 15th game against the Tampa Bay Rays. In the 5th inning, he kind of threw a pitch, then dropped down. He was really emotional. You could tell he thought something was wrong. Well, they did an MRI test, and the good news is that it does not appear as though Zack Kelly is going to need Tommy John. It does not appear as though he's going to need surgery. In fact, his MRI results came back clean. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is that Zack Kelly stated that he's still experiencing discomfort, he's still experiencing pain, and he really thinks something is wrong. Now, Zack Kelly is a guy who has had Tommy John before, so we can kind of recognize what that feels like. He decided he's going to bring those results to the doctor that gave him his Tommy John surgery just to get a second opinion and a second look at it and see if there's something within that sort of realm that could be wrong. It's something that the Red Sox could fix. Now, Zack Kelly didn't exactly get Tommy John surgery. He got the same surgery Trevor Story got, so there could be some complications with that brace. And that kind of stinks for this Red Sox team because Zack Kelly was poised to be a big part of its bullpen in 2023. Before his really unfortunate injury, Zack Kelly had a 3.68 ERA with a 1.37 ERA plus. He was having a bit of issues with walks through the first couple of outings in the year. Before his injury, he had a 7.4 walks per 9 and a FIP of 5 even, indicating that his ERA was a bit under what he was actually pitching at. So there was a little bit of concern with Zack Kelly, but at the same time too, still early on, and he was still playing a really big role in this Red Sox bullpen, mostly as sort of a mop-up guy, right? When starters are having really bad starts and the game's kind of close, Zack Kelly would come in with guys on base and trying to get out of the inning. So Zack Kelly, before he got injured, was a big part of this Red Sox bullpen, and why it's so painful for me to see a guy like this go down is because it truly does break my heart to see a guy like Zack Kelly go down, a guy who was about to have his first full year in Major League Baseball and truly make a statement that, hey, look, I am a Major League pitcher. I am a Major League relief pitcher. He's also a guy who, like I said, has had surgery in that area before. It's not exactly Tommy John, but it's pretty damn close, right? To see a guy like that go down is truly heartbreaking, and I truly do wish that Zack Kelly gets better as soon as humanly possible and he is back on this mound and finds a way back into this bullpen at some point in 2023. One, because I think he's a really good guy. Two, because I hate to see this happen to people like that. And three, because I think he could genuinely be a big piece of this Red Sox bullpen. Now, the second injury news to happen over this weekend was that Chris Martin is most likely going to be heading to the IL as well. It was announced yesterday that Chris Martin had an MRI on his shoulder and had been diagnosed with shoulder inflammation. Now, this could be a bit of a problem as well for this Red Sox team because for the most part this year, Chris Martin was your setup guy. He was the guy you went to in the 8th inning to keep the game close, to bring in Kenley in the 9th, who, by the way, has been absolutely insane, but that's besides the point, right? Luckily for the Red Sox, they do have John Schreiber sitting in there, who's been great so far this year, who could hopefully slot into that role, but Chris Martin going down is a problem as it really decreases the lack of depth you have in this bullpen, especially in late innings. Now, the hope is that Chris Martin isn't on the IL for very long. My best guess, even though he has not officially been placed on the IL, is that he starts with a 10 or 15 day IL and they sort of go from there. So now that you know the latest Red Sox injury updates, what are the Red Sox doing to replace these guys? The Red Sox did make some moves over this weekend to try and make up for the absence of both Chris Martin and Zack Kelly. Now, the first move that was made was to call up Jake Faria from the AAA Worcester roster. Now, Faria is a guy who has spent some time in the major leagues. He spent about 2.5 seasons with Tampa Bay. He also spent half a season with the Milwaukee Brewers, and he was okay at the major league level. So far this year at the AAA level, he is off to a really rocky start. Before he was called up to the major leagues, Faria was dealing with a 10.8 ERA with the Woo Sox, a really high 2 even whip, and a staggering 10.8 walks per 9. Now, this most likely means he's having some control issues early on in the 2023 season, but the reason Faria was brought up to the major league level was, one, he's a guy with major league experience. He's sort of a break glass in case of emergency option in the bullpen if you need him. The other reason is he's pretty expendable, right? His contract is pretty expendable, which we will get to in a second. Now, the other move made by the Red Sox this weekend was to claim Bernardino off of waivers from the Seattle Mariners. Bernardino spent last year with the AAA affiliate of the Mariners, where he had a pretty solid year. He finished AAA in 2023 with a 2.20 ERA in 32.2 innings of work. Now, again, like Faria, he got off to a bit of a rocky start with AAA this year. So far this year, he is also dealing with a 12 even ERA, a pretty high 2.33 whip, and that is in 6 innings of work. So super small sample size, but he has gotten off to a rocky start. Luckily enough for the Red Sox, though, that he is not going to be seeing any big league time, at least not right now. Bernardino is going to be starting his time with the Red Sox in AAA Worcester, giving Bernardino some time to work with the Red Sox and work with the Woo Sox program and see if they can figure out what's going on with his control and his ability on the mound early on in the 2023 season. And honestly, neither of these guys are really long-term solutions to the Red Sox bullpen problem, because like I said, Bernardino isn't going to be starting with the major league club, and Faria is extremely expendable. In fact, most people predict he won't even be on the team, maybe even by the time you're watching this video, because Brayan Bello is coming back today. Brayan Bello is back and starting Patriots Day for the Boston Red Sox right around 11 a.m. Eastern time, right? Which means that the Red Sox are going to have to bump somebody out of the rotation. Now, from everything I have gathered, the most likely scenario is that Tanner Houck will be moved to the bullpen and become more of a long relief role, while Jake Faria will be DFA'd. And the reason Jake Faria will be DFA'd is, again, because he's expendable. Now, with this being the most likely scenario and what is most likely going to happen by the time probably you're watching this video, that's why they picked up Bernardino, right? Jake Faria is going to be DFA'd, and there's a pretty good chance someone picks him up because of the major league experience and because he has had some success at the major league level. The Red Sox now bring in Bernardino, and he can be the Woo Sox depth piece that Faria was before Faria was called up and added to this 40-man roster. Now, Bernardino is already on this 40-man roster. He was added to this 40-man roster after Zack Kelly was moved to the 60-day IL. So there is a ton of shuffling going on right now in this Red Sox bullpen, but no real super long-term solutions. It looks like the Red Sox solution to the problem of injuries is to band-aid it with Jake Faria for a couple of games, and then obviously have Houck or possibly even Pivetta, but I doubt it, go into that bullpen and take over sort of a long relief role in there. So then you'd have Winkowski, you'd have Cutter, and you'd have Tanner Houck in that bullpen ready to go and eat late middle innings. The other idea is that, hey, Chris Martin probably shouldn't be on the IL for too long, so we should be able to just slot John Schreiber into that setup role and still be okay, which to me seems like pretty decent solutions. Tanner Houck is fantastic in the bullpen. John Schreiber has been an animal so far this year. I'm okay with that. At the end of the day, the biggest takeaway for me from all of this is, one, I really hate when bad things happen to good people like Zack Kelly, and two, Brayan Bello is back and starting Patriots Day for the Red Sox against Shohei Ohtani. That is going to be absolutely electric. But let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think of all this injury news? I know there's a ton of it. I know there's a ton going on, but let me know what you think specifically about the injuries, because to me, that's the bigger part of this video. What do you think of the Chris Martin injury? What do you think of the Zach Kelly injury? And obviously, what do you think of Brayan Bello coming back to this Red Sox team? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe and like button. Like I said at the beginning, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Plus, liking the video helps it out a ton and would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.